Hello everyone. Today I'm going to attempt to explain a small concept in market profile that is called failed auction. So I hope I'll be able to help you clear some of the doubts and explain what it is, or at least what I understand it to be. So this what we have here is a Bank Nifty market profile chart for the past few days. Now, before we move into what is failed auction, I would like you to understand some of the basic concepts that would help us understand failed auction better. So, I'm not going to go into all the terminologies and the other concepts within the market profile, but I'm trying, or I would try to and attempt to just get you to know the concepts or the terminologies that would help you understand failed auction. This is one of the concepts which is quite useful and is actually the base, if you may call it, of market profile. Okay, so the first one is excess. Okay, now a lot of you who use market profile, and even for those who do not, uh, there is a basic underlying concept in market profile that says that the market tends to move from a state of balance to a state of imbalance. So if you're not aware of this, it just simply means, for example, uh, this you may call a state of imbalance where the there's one side of the auction is heavier than the other side or is stronger. So the buyers, if you may call them, well, we'll not go into the integrities, but nitty-gritty, sorry, but you can say that one side is heavier on the other side or is stronger than the other side. And then there comes a phase like this, okay, let me mark it here, like this, okay, where there is balance for the, I mean, for so many days at a row, then something like this, which is presently happening in Bank Nifty, okay. So this is called balance. Something like this is called imbalance. And when we break out of this balance, it's called from balance to imbalance. And then when we again come back to this phase, it's called imbalance to balance. Okay, this is a continuous process. It's been happening for ages, not only in the markets but in every auction that we see around the world. Okay, so let's just delete this and so this is the first concept. Now the second one is access. So as I said, the underlying nuances in market profile are all based on uh, balance and access. Okay, so what is access? Access just marks the end of one auction and the beginning of other. So if we take the example of this one right here, okay, this is not so profound in Bank Nifty, but let's see this one. Okay, this is Nifty. Okay, so if you see here, this in market profile terms we call it an excess low. Okay, so these are single print zones where the market did attempt to go down and could not. You can call it a buying tail or an excess low. And what happens the subsequent day is of actual consequence to us. It attempts to go down, but it fails. Okay, and it settles somewhere here. And so this is then never taken out, and the market keeps rallying higher after that. So this is what we call an excess low or a buying tail. And similarly, if we have something like this on the top, we call it an excess high or a selling tail. Now, uh, an excess high need not necessarily be a selling tail. Okay, uh, it could be because of many reasons. There's no, it's not necessary that the sellers came in and aggressively started selling. It could very well be that there were no buyers at that point, at a higher point, and they were not interested at a particular point. So there was no auction, and it marked the end of that auction in that place. Now, having explained these concepts, it's I would like to say it's not so easy. You have to understand the whole context behind this. What has been going on in the past? What is the major trend? What is the intermediate trend? What is the higher time frame trying to do? Okay, so now that we have the excess and the balance terminologies out of the way, let's move on to what is failed auction. A failed auction, if I try to explain in layman's term, is an auction which attempted to start or was attempting to go on at a certain price level but failed. Okay, so what happens if, for example, there is an auction going on for, I mean, any architectural or cultural monument at some place in the world, and uh, everybody starts bidding, and the price goes, for example, up to 100 million US dollars, and then there is no one there. I mean, the he starts the bidding at 100 MUSD, but just there is just no bidder there. So what do you say? What happens there? So the auction fails. So what does the auctioneer do after that? He has to come down in price. Okay, so there is one example of a failed auction. So an auction which tried to be but failed. Okay, so the general I mean, direction after that, where the auction would head, is in the opposite direction, because now there is a lack of confidence. There was an attempt to go higher, it didn't. So what we say is it tried to, I mean, go up or go low and failed. So the general tendency is it's human psychology. It goes in the other way. Okay. So now let me try and find an example of something uh, in Bank Nifty if I can. Okay, let's look at the past few days. Now there are some uh, doubts that might creep in, or some. I mean, it can be misinterpreted as well. So for example, these are the last four trading sessions in Bank Nifty. Okay, now if you look at what I explained earlier, this is the balance area. Okay, and someone would, I mean, you would not be wrong if you say that this is a failed auction in the A period. But you got to remember when this happened, okay, uh, it was the market opened a gap up and just could not do anything and failed. Now, why I wouldn't be so inclined to call this a failed auction is because the market opened. Now, I do not know whether this was an actual selling that happened or a lack of buying. And it was too early in the day to have formed an opinion uh, of anything actually. Okay, so uh, I need confirmation for this. So when this happens, the day ends and it just does not take out the previous day's low or the balance area low. If this was the first day where the balance area is forming, it just does not take out the low. The next day, again, it fails to take out the low. And of course, it does not go up either. And the fourth day in a row. So I still think it is in balance. Now, a concept of failed auction, which I was trying to tell you, is that if it fails, the destination trade becomes the other end of balance. So, of course, it did meet the other end of the balance, but this is a very narrow range for a balance area. At this point, just in the second day, we have no information. We just have an information where it has actually come out of a balance area for the, I mean, for a lot of sessions. See over here. So this is what you need to look at. It did come out of the balance area for the last so many sessions. We'll talk about this sometime later, and it moves up. Okay. So if, for example, on the other hand, after all this happened, now the chance of this going down back after this is really not that high. The odds are not that high. So I know at this point in time that this is the maximum it can go lower on this day, and it doesn't break. If it was actual good selling here, this wouldn't have stood. Okay, and if this wouldn't have stood and it would have gone back, I would have called this day a failed auction, of course, because there was a good value area forming here, but it just couldn't respect this. It just couldn't hold, and it went down. And then maybe yes, I could have, I mean, taken a trade heading for this direction somewhere here. Okay, but here there was nothing on. There was nothing that suggested me that this is a failed auction. The next day, the same thing happens. It just does not break out of balance, and so on. Even on the last day of the, I mean, that was Friday. Okay, so this is uh, what we call as, this is not failed auction, but something like this on a chart I just explained. If this day wouldn't have stood and it would have gone down, I would have called it a failed auction. So it need not be a whole day. It could simply be, two prints or one print, and it just does not. It goes back into this balance area which we have below this, which I showed you, and doesn't even attempt. And then somewhere here on this day, if it would have been here, I would have certainly attempted to take a trade looking for this point. Okay, so this is what we call as the destination trade. Now, having said all this, there have been days and there have been weird auctions wherein this day happens, it fails, it comes into the balance area, it goes down only till this place and comes back up, goes down, comes back up again into this balance. So there have been days like this. So you have to be, there is nothing for sure in these markets. There is a lot of things that happen, but yes, you play on the odds, okay? And again, nuances like these in market profile would really help you to understand. For example, if it is failing here, you would certainly know in the market profile that yes, I need to get out. Okay, I don't think it's going down further. There will be a lot of nuances within the market profile. Uh, we don't have time right now. We would discuss all the other concepts one by one sometime later. Okay, so this is what is failed auction. Okay, so I hope I was able to explain you this concept in as much detail as I would like and as you would like. So until then, I will see you next time with some other concept of market profile. Thanks and have a great new year.